Sometimes the return pops up too high. That's when you can take the initiative and attack it. Now, the racket angle for this attacking shot different from the push flick I showed before. For the push flick, the wrist is firm and locked, and the bat head is more vertical. But both technique requires the wrist still. Now, for the forehand flick, your wrist should be in a specific position. If you look at your wrist from the front, it should be cocked open. Once it's open like that, you use the left side of your paddle, the left edge, to make contact. Anchor it to the table. Use the table as your reference point. So, the attacking flick creates a larger hitting surface. You've opened up that surface. Now, here's the most important point. With this flick, it's not about brushing or heavy spin. That's why you don't see a forehand flick like a backhand flick. That's not really a thing. You can do it for show, but no one uses it reliably in a real match. So, the forehand flick is, as the name suggests, really about impact. It's a hit. First cue point, as I said, the wrist. Open it up, cock it back. Because it's open, your grip can't be too hooked. Don't use a backhand flick grip for a forehand flick. So, try to get your thumb close to the shoulder of the paddle. For a backhand flick, it's your index finger near the shoulder, right? So, for the forehand flick, you must open and cock that wrist back. Anchor it like this, opening up the bat face. Second point, how is it different from a flick? You can only pick the ball at its highest point. You can only attack it at the peak of the bounce. If the ball is already below net height, trying to pick it is just a desperate scoop, a lift. That's pointless. You're better off just pushing it back or dropping it short, right? So, the forehand flick works on the third bounce point. The backhand flick works on the third point too. So, you use the flick when you've made a short push, created an opening, and their return pops up high. That ball is rising to its peak. We must flick it exactly at that peak. You open up, then pull your forearm in. You can flick a ball that's a bit lower, but generally, if the ball clears the net and just dives down, don't try to flick that. If your opponent's short game is very heavy, don't flick it. But if it's a normal short ball, one that's just a little bit high, I could attack it softly. Now, what's the single most important thing about the flick? The most important thing is, it's not about power or smashing it for a winner. Zoom the camera out a bit, get the back of the table in the shot. I've said this before in lessons, but I still see students make this mistake, so pay attention. You flick the ball deep, aim for that spot. Just flick it to the baseline. That's enough. You don't need to kill it. A powerful flick from over the table. First, it's a high-risk shot. Second, you need to be in incredible form. At the start of a match, when everyone's tight, when you're fighting for that early initiative and control, when you flick, let me teach you this. Flicking is like a deep push. It's not about force. Same with a deep push, I've said before. A deep push isn't about making it as heavy as possible. A very speedy push gives the opponent too much time. So just push it deep. Same principle with the flick. Flick the ball deep, don't smash it. The goal of the flick isn't necessarily to win the point outright. It's to seize a strong, attacking initiative. In a control rally, their ball pops up and you attack it with a flick. You put the pressure back on them, you force them down, suppress their attack. They might not make a direct error, but they'll be forced into a passive loop or drive. They were controlling close to the table, right? They're recovering, controlling, then suddenly they give you a high ball. You see the chance and flick it. For a professional, or even a good club player, that's basically a setup ball, an opportunity. Let me demonstrate. Just flick it to the baseline. That's enough. So you must catch it at its peak. See this ball? It has a clear high point. That's what you attack. I just flick it deep. That's all. Okay, let me show it in slow motion. When you see this flick, you might think I'm snapping my wrist. This is like what I said yesterday. It's an optical illusion. Using your wrist actively in the flick is wrong. See, very inconsistent. Some people use their wrist, some flip their wrist over. I've even seen tutorials teaching a wrist flip. Don't learn that. Others try to brush it for spin, or stiff arm it upwards, or open the wrist for a whipping motion. those methods never feel quite right. The idea of impact is correct, but the flick requires you to be very close to the ball. It's mainly your body that finds the right timing and distance, not by swinging your arm back to find it. As I said, with the flick, the power is focused here, at contact. Directed to the other side. It's not about starting a big swing here on your side. If all your power is expended on your side, the ball arrives dead. So, concentrate the power directed into the ball on their side. Use your body weight to make the ball long. Watch this pick, look closely. Does it look, visually, like my hand is moving forward to pick it? It's not. My hand is actually pulling back into my body. Remember the key point. After opening the racket, you pull your forearm in. Pulling it inwards, that's the key. That's the most stable motion. If you push forward, first, your opponent can use your pace. Second, pushing forward makes placement harder. See, if you push forward, hard to control the placement. Hard to control, and the motion is too big. So, the flick is actually a pulling in motion. See, it's like this. It feels like you're pulling it into your chest. For a lower ball, pull it up towards your head. Pull in here, right, higher ball, see, like this. You can also disguise it, make it a fake flick. So, why can I disguise it? Because I'm not taking a big backswing, and my wrist is fixed. When I fake, it's just a slight feint with the wrist. But at the moment of contact, it's fixed. So, the smaller my action, the more deceptive I am. Short game shots need to be sudden. So, no big swing, no wrist flick. If I used my wrist, it would look very exaggerated. This is using the wrist. It might work, but only in predictable drills. It's not practical for real play. Bro, don't flick a short backspin ball with your forehand. It's backspin. Attack that with a flick. For a short backspin, just step around and flick it. Now, as I was saying, did it seem like there was wrist action? It's the same illusion I talked about yesterday. If I do a power flick, a kill flick, let me show you a power flick. A power flick feels like this. Listen, hear the sound of the impact on the power flick. I'm telling you, without a certain skill level, you can't pull this off consistently. Not many can power flick and make the board ring. Some can, but not many. But I just showed a couple. Here's the question, did it look like I used my wrist? Again, it's that same illusion. My fingers engage, which naturally pulls the forearm through. So in my power flick, I open my wrist instantly, then grab the ball with the bat. I firm up my grip, brace it instantly, and direct the force through my fingers into the ball. I'm not actively throwing or snapping my wrist out. Understand, I just open my wrist as part of the grip action. That firming of the grip creates a natural forward momentum. And I still finish by pulling my forearm in a bit. That's how my power flick stays controlled. But visually, many beginners, or those without formal training, will think, oh, you need to use your wrist to flick. Some even teach a forehand flip. That's a huge misconception. Forehand flick. Never actively move your wrist. Never move the wrist. If you just pull your hand in, the ball won't go long enough. A short flick here isn't very threatening. Against a stronger player, you might just be giving them an easy ball. Better not to flick at all then. That's why I said you must use your body weight. Now, the body weight transfer for the flick is different from your regular footwork. Just move the camera over here. Let me show you the footwork. The easiest one to explain, let me show you the footwork for the flick. What's the backhand flick footwork like? You step in, plant your foot, so you can flick a ball on its descent, the fourth point. But with the forehand flick, you can't use the descent. But the flick is also not the same as a deep push. Watch the deep push, it's simultaneous. The deep push and the forehand flick are simultaneous movements. It's the center of gravity moving with the shot as one unit. What's the difference with the backhand flick? I plant my foot, then I flick. It's not a simultaneous hit from the start. That's the most important distinction. So what's the footwork for the forehand flick? It's like this, everything moves together. Some students practice by just standing there early, or arriving too soon. Practicing like that means in a real match, first, you can't use it. Second, if you somehow do use it, you'll struggle to follow up with the next shot. So, for the forehand flick, your legs, body, and hand all go forward together. It's a unified, forward driving motion into the ball. See this feeling and this action, it's about timing your step. The instant you plant, you drive forward with your weight, you flick the ball deep. Plus, you pull your forearm in, watch, see how he moves into it. Let me exaggerate it a bit. I could even lift my left foot off the ground, but it's still simultaneous. Right, same as a push. Now, if you're overthinking it, doesn't it feel strange? Unless I'm faking a shot. So, you must understand this difference. Okay, we can go back. Thanks. This is the footwork for short balls. As I said, forehand flick and backhand flick are different. The deep push and the forehand flick, however, are the same. They're both simultaneous. How to use waist power in forehand? You need to lower your center of gravity more. Only then can you engage your waist. For forehand power, you must first sink your weight. Just rotating your waist won't transfer power. It won't transfer to your hand. So you sink your weight, push your hips back, and drive with your legs. Legs lead the waist. The forehand framework I've talked about is legs drive the waist drives the arm. Right, that's the power sequence. Forehand loop, wrist doesn't move, the wrist. As I said, for the forehand loop, the wrist is slightly open. Actively brush with the wrist, but don't overdo it. Don't have a rigid, over-controlled image of your wrist. In your mind, just focus your intent on this area around the wrist. Keep it within a small range. Maybe just a 2 or 3 centimeter adjustment, see, 2 to 3 centimeters. Open about this much, open to brush the ball. Open to actively hit. That's why I always advocate active hitting. Another crucial concept, today, a fan sent me a private message asking, "Coach, I want to win but fear losing." I said, in a match, you must be the one hitting actively. I always tell my students, and myself, I give myself the same advice. In many tense competitions, I tell myself, if I'm going to lose playing safe, and I might as well lose playing aggressively. After taking the initiative many times, your level gradually improves, along with your consistency and mentality. So in training, you must cultivate that feeling of active hitting. Even on service receive, when you can't read the spin, tell yourself, I'm going to be bold against this ball and add spin to my return. Even if I miss wildly, never just touch it. Because if you just poke at it all match, you can't learn from it. And you'll become more and more timid. The ball will start to feel scary, like it's electric. You must actively meet the ball, attack the ball. Here's a simple phrase to remember. You are playing the ball. The ball is not playing you. So when you reach for the ball and feel your wrist is ineffective, first, open your wrist. Open it slightly, and hit actively. See, active hitting. Open slightly. Can you grasp this concept? Some people struggle with service receive. Why? They're already timid. It's completely mental, not a technical issue. With many serves, the more you actively fight against them, the more you understand what's in the ball, how the spin is created, how to counteract it. Then you start to get a feel. If you stay timid and just poke, you get stiffer and stiffer. You lose the match and have nothing to analyze. There's really nothing to learn from that. You can't analyze it, your coach can't analyze it. We can only say you were too passive. It's not necessarily that your mentality was bad. But if I were your coach, I'd say, it's okay to lose. We'll take the initiative. Even with pushes, don't just touch. Actively push with spin. If you push it high, at least it has spin, right? If you just touch it, no quality, no spin. Your opponent can do whatever they want. So this is a very important philosophy. It's my personal experience. Take some notes, everyone. Okay.